Hey everybody, it's Patrick here. Just wanted to do a video for the Kamak chassis. I've been getting some requests just to do an assembly video on it. So here's everything you'll get. Hardware, little Velcro strap and the links, we'll go over them. In the bag itself, we've got frame rails, so you'll get opposing sides, reversible skid plate, hood, and then two different roof styles. This is the way they come. You've got one solid roof, it sits at a bit of an angle, and then just a roof with a hole in it for easier access to electronics, a different style. Inside of the bag here, you've got a Velcro strap. You can cut it to length. These will be your front upper links. One is a spare. I've never needed to replace mine, but if it were to fall off a countertop or something like that, you may need it, so it's included. There's my two front links. I've got my ball bearings, and then you've got two lengths of screws in here. Some are a little longer, some are a little shorter. For assembly, I find it simplest just to have your links already connected to the axles. Here are some shocks that I also run on my chassis. These are actually limited, so there's just a bit of a cut zip tie in there to stop them from compressing all the way. And then these are the front ones, similar idea. They're just limited to that. I'll be running an Endura 050 size motor. Those fit no problem. And then it's, I think it's an RC all-wheel drive transmission, but the stock one works just fine. And then here is my ESC. So this is the case that it came out of. They're the same size. I was just looking for a black finish, so I printed this up. So in terms of assembly, I like to start with these upper link holes. For that, this is not included, but I use 8mm hardware. If you do have hardware and the little M1.4 nuts, you can thread from the outside and put a nut on the inside, but I do find that simply putting the screw through the ball bushing and then into the chassis rail is held up just fine. I like to mount these on the upper row of holes, the middle one or the furthest back. That's just a personal thing, so as you figure out your driving style and how you like it to be set up, you can adjust that as necessary. And here you'll see it's just about flush with the outside. When you do that, the ball bushing is 5mm, the screw's 8, and this is close to 3mm thick. For the front upper links, just press the ball in. You can run it with a rubber O-ring, one on each side or just one on one side. That's what I like to do. It flexes a little more freely. And then you'll see one side of the bushing is bigger than the other side. I'll just put that rubber O-ring over the smaller side there. And then I'll do this to the rest of the links. Now that I've got my links assembled, I'll attach them to the front servo mount here. This is just an Endura servo mount, and both sides are threaded, which makes it very helpful. All right, now these front upper links are on. The reason that these are included is just because the chassis is so much wider than normal. Either the stock wishbone style that just mounts from the center, it definitely won't reach. If you have some aftermarket ones, they may reach out to the outside, but I've encountered issues, so these are always included. we can continue. Same for the front. I like using these upper 2 holes facing outward. Either one works just fine. And then when you are installing these screws, just keep in mind that it is plastic, but as you can tell from there, I mean, you can tighten them a good bit before they start to strip. If they do strip, either let me know or just add a little dab of super glue in there, let it dry, and thread your screw back in, and it should hold just fine. So here's the skid plate. It's reversible. You can install it in any direction. Your transmission just slides in there. And then I will attach this using 2 little 5mm screws. These are not included, but you'll definitely have them laying around if you are swapping your parts over from a stock build. All right, there you have it. So it's at this point where you'll see you've got 2 different lengths of screws that are included with the kit. Some are going to be a little bit longer, these 5mm ones, and they're going to be used to attach the skid plate to the chassis rails. All right, we've got the skid plate installed, and now we'll just go ahead and flip it over and install these lower links. For that, the stock skid comes with these 10mm screws. 8mm should work fine if that's what you have around. And just keep in mind, if you are using an electric driver, be careful. I like to hand tighten these the last little bit because this will just rip through the plastic. Before you've got all your lower links on, just make sure to connect your drive shafts. It'll make your life easier in the future. I've been using these 3D printed rear links for quite some time now. I will be making them available on my Etsy, as well as this skid here. I'm just waiting on ball bushings to get that all posted. At this point, it's starting to come together. Let's see what's next. This is a good spot to attach your hood. You'll see these little flanges on it. These little tabs will help keep it in place. And then this is where you're going to switch to the super short hardware. It is 3-point-something millimeters, but it'll make sure that it's not sticking out on the inside. And again, this, you just want to get it snug. There's no need to over tighten these. This stays nice and stable. This is the point where I like to put in my ESC. You can do a little strip of double-sided tape here on the side if you want to keep it in place. The main thing, if you're running the stock electronics, this power button needs to sit over the motor. I know that there's not one here, but that slips in just like so. And then you'll see from this side that you can still see the power button. And that's just the easiest, best way to fit it in there. You won't have any issues with link clearance, stock ones or these printed ones, and it just tucks away nice and snug. I'll just be using this one here since I've got it laying around. So for mounting the shocks, again, you're going to want some 8mm hardware. And you've got a few different mounting spots to choose from here. I'll just snug it up by hand. This longer Velcro strip is included. I've already got a pre-cut one here, so I'll just use that. And then this I will thread in to the hood. So there's a hole through there in the hood. These bottom sections are for Velcro, and then this top hex grid works really, really well for the limit straps. This one in particular is from LGRP, but I know that there's others out there. There we go, that's our Velcro strap, and this is gonna hold my battery. So for the battery, I use this one here. It's 450 milliamp hour. It is a little thicker, but a little shorter and a little narrower than the stock one. Anything smaller than this is gonna be much easier, and you can of course fit a battery on axle mount on here. But what I do to install it every time is I thread the connections up through here past the motor. And this is a little finicky, but it definitely gives you the best performance. It keeps the battery very low in the chassis, and it just kind of snaps into place there. Fits right in between the frame rails. From there, I'll just wrap my Velcro strap around and fasten it in place. I've seen a lot of people running batteries on top of the hood. There's nothing wrong with that, whatever is easiest and best for you. But with the original design, it was meant to just fit right in here, where it's super nice and low, right behind the servo, and the connections work just fine. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the V2 electronics from Horizon Hobby, here are the serial numbers. It's what I've found to be one of the best and cheapest combos for an ESC and receiver that you get really good modulation out of for low speed crawling. I've seen lots of brushless setups with this. With some cutting to the hood and the roof, you can fit big Outrunner brushless. Some of the mini brushless motors are great. And you just need to set up your electronics in here so that everything fits. It is a smaller chassis after all. I cut the power switch off on this, so I just turned my remote on and I'll plug this in. Should have done this before putting in the battery, but I'll just run my servo cable through here. I just wind it up in a coil and put some double-sided tape on the back side. Plug that in. There we go. And then usually what I do is I'll just tape this to the underside there so that it's tucked out of the way. One of the main reasons for this roof with the hole in it is because then you can access your battery port, so it's much easier to unplug it. I prefer the style of this solid piece here, so I'll use that. And then again, you're using your tiny little screws. You'll see that on the chassis they're countersunk. So that everything fits nice and flush with the frame rail. And then lastly, just to button it up, I'll mount my rear shocks. Again, 8mm screw. And let's see, I'll just mount them in this position. You'll probably have some hardware left over, a couple screws, that's all good. I just include them as extras because we all know what it's like to search for one of these on the floor. And there you have it, fully assembled. Again, hardware just for the chassis is included. You'll need hardware for your links, your shocks, and these lower links here with the long screws. For mine, I'm using just an Amazon metal front diff housing, some brass knuckles, a brass diff cover, and I'm running a very narrow stance on this. These trail wheels have a positive offset. These are J-Concept Scorpios with inserts in them. They're good, they're not great. I ran the Endura comp pins on this for a while and I did prefer them. I plan to put them back on. As you can see, it's got a decently low center of gravity to it. No. As you can see, with these regular travel shocks, you get some good rear clearance, but it is a bit of a belly dragger. That's why I do like running these shocks that are limited to the higher end of travel. It just gives me a little bit more skid clearance overall. It's an extremely stable chassis. These upper links mount wider than an outboard link would on a standard chassis, which just gives it a good bit more stability. And I find that the wider chassis with the battery sitting perpendicular like such, and the ESC and the motor side by side, gives it great stability overall. I did have this on a 4-point scale a few weeks back, and it was nearly identical 50-50 side to side, and then 60-40 front and rear, which is exactly what I'm looking for. You can always mess around with these upper link mount options, and your shock length, and then you've got a few different shock mounting positions as well. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. This chassis is for sale on Etsy. Again, it's called the Kamak chassis. And that's all. Thank you.